Sean, what is the latest that we're able to know for certain is happening on the ground?
It's always difficult to know for certain when it's only we're picking up Russian reports of this, so we can advise what the Russian reports. We've been waiting for this spring offensive for some time, where the Russian Defence Ministry has said it started. They claim they've thwarted a large-scale attack in the Donetsk region, just where the arrows are popping in there, claim that about 250 Ukrainians were killed, a load of tanks were destroyed and armoured personnel carriers. Again, in Zaporizhzhia, just a bit further over this side, they claim that Ukrainians have advanced about 400 metres, but the Russians have held them back. But actually, we understand the fighting is continuing today there, so that's ongoing. The Russians have also provided video footage, but as ever with the Russian video footage, it's incredibly grainy. It's very difficult in the studio to pick out anything. Hopefully the viewers will pick out a little bit more, but it's very difficult to work out exactly where it is, what the vehicles are, what time and date. It's very difficult to verify at all what's gone on. It is worth noting that General Gerasimov, the boss of the Russian army, apparently has been directing some of this heroic Russian defence. That looks very unlikely. He doesn't normally get involved, and actually that's almost certainly part of a Russian army effort to rebuild its credibility. So we've got to take all of these things with a little bit of a pinch of salt. It's also worth pointing out that the first phase of these operations often are very slow to take ground because, of course, inevitably the Ukrainians bump into the first line of the Russian defences. It's only once they've broken through that then you get a little bit of momentum. So we also commented about Yevgeny Prigozhin. He's claimed that Ukrainian forces have retaken Berkivka, which is just a settlement just to the north of Bakhmut. This is particularly important because the Wagner Group lost a lot of people fighting to take Bakhmut, the Russian army looking at the outskirts. It looks likely that the Ukrainian forces are gradually pushing the Russian army back, and there's been reports the Russian army are running away, which, of course, Prigozhin has described this as disgraceful. But it is worth pointing out Prigozhin has his own agenda here. He is boss of a mercenary group. They only make money if they're employed somewhere. He's in a long-running feud with the Russian army. Effectively, Wagner Group, we can do stuff that the Russian army cannot. With his own agenda, we've got to be really careful to take what he says with a pinch of salt.
What about Iran? What role have they played in helping Russia prepare for this counteroffensive?
Russia's been really short of long-range missiles and particularly long-range drones, and since the start of the conflict, they've been importing these Shahed 136 drones from Iran. Literally in May, over 300 of these were deployed against targets in Ukraine itself, almost certainly in an effort to try and swamp the defences, but it looks likely that over 90% of these were taken down by older air defence systems and jamming by the Ukrainians. It's worth pointing out the Ukrainians also have multi-layered defences, which include the Patriot missile system as well. It's unfortunately when they do shoot them down, obviously they've got a 50-kilogram warhead in. These can explode, cause damage, fires on the ground, but at least they're not hitting their intended targets, the aim. But it's also, this is just not just a one-way traffic, it's also that Iran, in return for selling these, it's managed to get Russia to sell state-of-the-art fighters, Su-35s. So this looks like it's not a one-off, it's a growing defence trade partnership between Iran and Russia.
Meanwhile, Belgium is asking Ukraine for answers over weapons used on Russian soil. What more do we know about that?
A lot of this is about the cross-border incursions. We've been reporting around Belgorod, which lots of sort of pro-Ukraine groups going into Russia and on little raids, then coming out again. Tactically, it's not really significant. Strategically, it's causing Russia a bit of a headache. But the news is that some of the weapons that have been seen on Russian soil appear to be weapons that have been given by the West to Ukraine that are only to be used in the defence of Ukraine and not to be used on Russian soil. There's things like tactical vehicles that were provided by the US and Poland, and also rifles provided by Belgium. Now, Belgium has turned around and said they're going to run an investigation into this, but they've been very quick to point out that Belgium's been exporting small arms, light rifles, for decades, and these go all around the world, and inevitably they get sold on. So it's not yet to be convinced about there's actually proactively using. I think there'll be a lot more news here if America or the West sees high-tech weapons on Russian soil. Not seen that yet.